Airports have always been a critical, yet perilous site for spies. You can be certain that in all airports, you will have domestic spy agencies hunting for foreign threats and foreign spies, trying to pass unnoticed and get to their destination. Recently we were in one of the most important hubs of Europe, the Charles de Gaulle, or CDG airport in Paris, France. This inspired us to talk about not one or two or even three, but 4 recent cases that can help us better understand the world of espionage. Welcome to Spy Spots. Whether you travel to Africa or Middle East, there is a big chance you'll be transiting via CDG, since, at the time of this publication, it's Europe's largest hub by passenger traffic. That said, we'll start with a least unusual incident and gradually move to the more intriguing ones. The taxi spies. This wasn't nation-state level espionage, but still it was a very interesting incident. It's 2023, and French authorities identify some people moving suspiciously, as if they are trying to establish the pattern of life of law enforcement officers in the airport. That even included undercover police officers working at the airport, which apparently led to an investigation. Once the investigation was concluded, French authorities had uncovered a network of illegal taxi drivers who did what you'd expect Intel Services case officers to be doing. They had developed a complete, clandestine network of informants inside CDG airport. Specifically for more than a year, the illegal taxi drivers were recruiting dozens of individuals for payments ranging from 100 to 150 euro per week, who were providing them with real-time monitoring of police officers to ensure they'll not get discovered and arrested. The illegal taxi drivers were basically luring unsuspected travelers to scam them by overcharging and evading taxes. That's a common scam across the world, but those took it to a whole new level. Some of their, let's call them recruited agents, were in stationary positions in strategic points in the airport, like near police rooms, where they were constantly monitoring who enters or who exits, while others were roaming around as tourists, travelers, or airport workers. The agents were using messaging apps to send photos of the undercover and uniformed officers, along with their locations, license plates, photos of the marked and unmarked police vehicles, even their private vehicles in several occasions. And eventually, the 3 masterminds behind this were arrested and charged in December of 2023. But let's look at a more spy-focused one, DGSE versus CIA. For our second incident that took place in this busy airport in France, we have some rivalry among spy agencies that not so many know about. The French Foreign Intelligence Service, known as the DGSE, is one of the top spy agencies in the world, and generally manages to maintain a low profile among the general public. But what happens when 2 spy agencies have a rivalry? Let's hear what former senior CIA officer John Kiriakou shared recently about such a case that took place in this same Paris airport.
You know, the French, we had a little kerfuffle in the early 90s with the French.
Oh, yeah?
And they were very angry with us.
About what?
Deservedly so. One of our young junior first tour guys got caught just pushing a little too far. So they expelled him, they expelled the chief, and they expelled a whole bunch of people. And so for 3-4 years, we had a tough time. But the French were just such dicks about it that we ended up getting orders that we weren't even allowed to transit de Gaulle Airport. And that was the only reason I was ever in France, was just to catch a connecting flight at de Gaulle, to go here or there, wherever in the Middle East. But a buddy of mine was, I forget where he was going, somewhere in the Middle East. And he went, no, it was in Africa. He was going to Africa. And the only way to get to Africa was through Paris at the time. Now you can just go directly to Morocco and then onward from there. But they took his laptop. He had a secure laptop. So they're like, turn it on. So he turns it on. Open it up. He's like, I'm not going to open it up. I have a diplomatic passport. I'm on the diplomatic business of the United States. This is the property rather of the U.S. Department of State. I'm not opening it up. So they took it in a back room. He said they had a railroad spike fastened to a table, and they just slammed it down on the railroad spike, went all the way through the laptop, and then they pulled it off and gave him his laptop back. So headquarters was like, okay, nobody can transit De Gaulle Airport anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, they're just jerks about it.
I've heard that they are incredibly talented.
They're very talented. When I was overseas in Pakistan.
ISIS terrorists. Now things are getting more serious. So for our third case that took place in this massive European airport, we have one that could have easily led to disastrous terrorist attack. Intelligence services rarely have to worry about low-level criminals spying on airports to overcharge tourists, but most of their work revolves around more serious threats, like that of terrorism. Since 1969, the French authorities have a watch list known as the Fiche S that includes people that pose a threat to national security. If someone is in Fiche S, it also gives the French security and intelligence services the authority to place them under surveillance. After the November 2015 ISIS terrorist attacks in Paris, which led to the death of 129 individuals, all French authorities made it a top priority to identify if there were any more terrorists connected to them, and, among others, they made a shocking discovery. Some of the terrorists, like one of the 3 terrorists in the Bataclan concert hall, as well as the Toulouse killer and the Kouachi brothers who were behind the Charlie Hebdo attack, were all in the Fiche S watch list, but the authorities failed to stop them or even detect them. A massive intelligence failure, but at the time Fiche S had over 10,000 people, thus making it impossible to keep track of everyone. With those deaths overshadowing the French intel community, they started looking at everyone else on the Fiche S watch list more closely, and among others, they found that a number, where the exact number wasn't publicly disclosed, of employees of Air France Cargo and FedEx were working in sensitive parts of CDG airport. And not only that, they were marked for suspected connections with Islamic terrorist groups. French authorities covertly searched their belongings in the airport and discovered that some had high security access badges in their lockers, giving them virtually unrestricted access to runways and other sensitive locations. Eventually, over 70 employees were removed or had their access revoked, but no other information about this incident was publicly disclosed. Clearly, though, it demonstrates another of the many spy-related activities that happen every day in airports, and most never realize. But that said, let's move to likely the most intriguing spy incident, which could have easily been the scenario of a spy thriller, the Duménil affair. This Alain Duménil, a French-Swiss businessman and one of the richest people in both France and Switzerland. He is involved in almost all businesses imaginable, from financial institutions to luxury brands, real estate and many others. For Duménil, it was just another flight from Paris to Zurich, as he had done countless times in the past. But this time, something was different. He was at the Terminal 2 Foxtrot of CDG Airport on March 12, 2016, when border security officers asked him to follow them for an additional passport inspection. They took him to an interrogation room in the airport, left the room, and 2 plainclothesmen entered and revealed to him that they were actually DGSE covert intelligence officers. The ask was simple. They demanded that he'll pay back €15 million that, according to the DGSE officers, he stole from a secret fund that was under his name. And that was also confirmed by the then director of DGSE, Bernard Bazolet, who called this interception of Duménil for an entretien, an interview, but refused to reveal the identities of the DGSE officers involved. When Duménil refused to cooperate with DGSE, the 2 officers showed him what he called a photo album of himself and members of his family. According to him, the photos were a result of covert surveillance DGSE had conducted to spy on him and his family members in Geneva, London, and other places. Like, for example, photos of his daughters at one of their properties, and according to Duménil, they were accompanied by threats such as that DGSE knows everything about them and similar statements. Once Duménil demanded legal advice and requested to file a complaint, the DGSE officers left. Eventually, this resulted in a massive scandal for DGSE that also revealed lots of secrets to the public. The then director of DGSE, Bernard Bajolet, initially denied that the pressure tactics, as it was called in the court hearings, was something that was authorized by DGSE. But eventually he accepted that he ordered it, leading to his sentence to a 1-year suspended jail time for attempted extortion in early 2026. His comment in the court about the case was, "Things didn't go as they should have." But even more importantly, this incident revealed something bigger, that the French spy agency was responsible for something called the patrimoine privé, something like a war chest in English. This is something that the agency was secretly operating as the aftermath of the Second World War. In simple terms, most people have some stash of money to deal with emergencies. But what will a government do for the same? Say that the government needs to be operating from exile, or certain activities cannot be attributed back to it. Well, for DGSE, this was done through a series of investments across the world to be able to finance their operations in case of national crises, such as wars or collapse of the state, basically being able to fund a government in exile. This way, those funds cannot be directly connected or attributed back to the French government. In the court, Bernard Bajolet described this activity as a form of insurance for the state in times of crisis. So, as part of this secret stash of money, DGSE had invested into some French luxury brands. According to Radio France, Duménil, the Swiss-French businessman, was approached in 2002 by Alain Julier, the then director of DGSE, to take over DGSE-linked assets, with which he created the Alliance Designers as a vehicle. According to them, Duménil was aware that this was secret DGSE funding, not just a normal investment. Now, the exact amount that DGSE invested varies from one source to another, but it was likely something between 13 and 25 million euros. So, in November 2002, via a share exchange, Duménil bought 82% of France Luxury Group, FLG, and via the transaction, Alliance Designers was formed. So far it was all good, but 6 years later, in 2008, according to the French Ministry of Justice, Alain Duménil removed all the shares of Smalto from the Alliance Designers in order to transfer them to 3 other companies he owned, thus causing the bankruptcy of the group. The Paris Commercial Court deemed this a fraudulent action, but that didn't stop Alliance Designers from being placed for liquidation. Basically, Duménil was accused of creating this scheme to steal the DGSE money, but of course, DGSE couldn't publicly say that, because that would compromise this entire secret fund operation. This is why DGSE did this blackmail attempt at the CDG airport in March of 2016, in an attempt to get back some of the money that disappeared with the Alliance Designers liquidation. Based on the time difference, we can speculate that there might have been other attempts too, before it reached that level of escalation, but there is no publicly known evidence to support this claim, at least at the time of this publication. Back to the timeline, 5 years later, in 2021, Duménil was prosecuted by French authorities for fraudulent bankruptcy of the company Alliance Designers, and as mentioned earlier, DGSE was also charged for the extortion threats in CDG airport. There are countless more spy cases that take place on a daily basis in busy airports, like the Charles de Gaulle in Paris, but you very rarely hear about them in mainstream media. So the next time that you are in this beautiful Paris airport, take a moment to look around and try to see the unseen. This secret parallel world of covert surveillance, spies trying to go unnoticed under the cover identities, plainclothes DGSE officers, or even suspected terrorists roaming around. And that's only a small glimpse into a world where nothing is as it seems.